I'd like to address mandatory hearings, which, in my opinion, these hearings can run up the Nuclear Regulatory Commission fees for applicants, waste time, and forced staff redundancy. About how much of these application review costs would be estimated to be added to, and I know that you all are going to get to that. And last year, some of you all and the NRC Executive Director of Operations told the committee that mandatory hearings are not necessary to protect the public. I commend the commission in its recent vote to make the process more efficient. However, my legislation, H.R. 6464, the Efficient Nuclear Licensing Hearings Act, is still necessary to eliminate some of these redundant hearings. Commissioner Caputo, would the Efficient Nuclear Licensing Hearings Act enable the NRC to better allocate its resources?
Yes, I believe it would.
And will amending the law on mandatory hearing requirements add more efficiency and timeliness to the NRC licensing decisions?
I believe it would, particularly if we begin to see a lot of applications come through. While the commission has voted to streamline the process as best it can, the reality, I think, is that if we start to see significant numbers of applications, that will be a significant portion of work on the commission itself. And I think this mandatory hearing is largely a historical artifact that predates all of our public outreach, which I list at length in my vote on the mandatory hearing.
And I understand there's like 20 other opportunities for public comment. Is that correct?
Yes, and openness, the requirement for mandatory hearing certainly predates our principles of good regulation, which focus on openness. Our strategic plan, fully 1/3 of the strategies in it focus on stakeholder engagement. There are lots of opportunities, as you mentioned, during the license application process. There are tips on our website, instructions on how to file comments, how to file contentions, how to find information. There are contacts listed for all license application pages at the bottom so that people can call a project manager with questions. So there are numerous ways for the public to both find information and engage in the process that did not exist at the time of the mandatory hearing requirement was enshrined.
Well, and I think repealing the mandatory hearing will allow the NRC staff and the commission to focus on new nuclear technologies and complex licensing matters, as well as allowing staff to focus time on safety enforcement and inspection activities. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
All right, I appreciate that. We're also doing some, I think, exciting things in Virginia with Governor Youngkin working on small modular reactors. We're hoping, looks like they've moved east on us. We were hoping we'd get the first one in Virginia in my district, but I do think it will happen at some time. And I know that you all have worked with the Tennessee Valley Authority on early site license. I'll stick with you, Ms. Caputo, but if you think somebody else should have it, you say defer. But could you all talk a little bit about the actual sites and how they're evaluated? Because one of the concerns that's been raised in my district by some opponents is that we have a lot of karst formation. And my understanding is that the site would be well vetted, so if there's a cave a few feet underneath, you probably wouldn't put it there. Is that fairly accurate? What do y'all do to get the sites evaluated to make sure we're not putting it in a location that might be unsafe?
Geology is one significant component of it. Seismology, weather patterns, flooding, all kinds of external hazards would be reviewed before determining whether or not it would be a safe location to host a nuclear plant.
So you're not going to put it over top of a potential sinkhole?
No.
I wouldn't think so. But there are people there are people who don't understand your process in my district who are concerned because we know that we have a lot of karst formation, but every one of our mountains is a little bit different. They may have been formed similarly, but sometimes they end up completely different, and placing it on one mountain is a lot different than placing it on another. Would you agree with that as well?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time.
Stresses the importance of public communication, both by any of the industry applicants, but also on the part of the NRC once we're engaged in the process.
Yes, ma'am. And I appreciate all of you and appreciate y'all being here today and answering our questions. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.